Thank you for being with us. So education meets TikTok is a story of Benedict. Maybe you just jump in and explain us what you're doing.
Sure. We started a company roughly 3.5 years ago in high school at the time, actually, where we just said, hey, there's a huge global platform in every other vertical. There's a TikTok, there's an Instagram, there's a Snapchat. On the other hand, there isn't really any platform in the whole education space. Although education is that important, you spend that much time in it, and for you as a student, it still feels like 30 to 40 years ago in most of the cases. And out of that own problem, we then started the app, launched it in September 2020, really with the idea of building a daily learning companion for students and giving them an experience which is really intrinsically motivating to them and not just forced from parents or from teachers, which education has been before. And that strong students focus obviously led us to a pretty strong growth then. Started out in Germany in the first place, then grew very organically because obviously if one student uses the app, then tons of other students start using the app, start uploading their content, start interacting on the app. So it really has these typical social media patterns on it. And then started building it up in Germany, raised our first round, Project A and a couple of others, and then started to expand internationally in early 2022. Because education before that has always been very much locally focused because lots of players produce content by themselves. They just stay locally focused. But we on our end, because we don't produce the content by ourselves and rather the great students upload the content, could expand very quickly and then expand it to France, to Poland, to Italy, to the UK in 2022. That worked really well. Basically every second student in most of these markets is using us now. So there's a pretty high penetration in these markets. And then over the course of 2022, also you with Redalpine, a couple of others backed us. And since then, a couple of new things.
It sounds pretty cool. I mean, that is a very fast growth. What is it, from the consumer perspective or user perspective, what do you think is the biggest trigger? What makes you so different in terms of product?
I think it's actually two big things. On the one hand, it's the totally unique type of content which you find on our platform. It's really what the other students created in terms of content for themselves, study sheets, presentations, really in-depth content that has really been helpful for them. That's the one big part. And I guess the other even bigger growth driver and the even bigger part is the whole social part of it in that sense. It's basically these great students supporting other students, having the ability to interact in social communities and everything. So it more likely feels such as a unique, intrinsically motivated experience from students and not just forced from parents, which you obviously also see with the average student using the app basically every day within a week, really as a daily learning companion, because they're kind of motivated to do so and it's somewhat fun doing so because it's more like a social media use case rather than a typical education forced use case in that sense.
So the student who was, when I was in school, sitting in the first row, noting down everything, which we didn't like actually, obviously, is now the hero on your platform.
Exactly, he can be kind of the influencer in that sense. So the biggest of these students, of the maybe back in the day so-called nerds in that perspective, have 50, 60,000 followers on the platform nowadays. So they're really educational creators and educational influencers, and that is one of the big growth drivers definitely on the platform.
I like that a lot. Turning the nerd into an influencer is a cool approach. When we look into, I mean, what will have AI in terms of impact on your product? I mean, we all discuss a lot to what extent AI is impacting actually our existing portfolio and what does it mean for our future investments. Obviously, you are a star in our portfolio. What do you think about it? How does it impact you going forward? And not only in terms of product, how do you use it along your own value chain?
I think in terms of product, we always said since day one, hey, we want to build a daily learning company that really supports students on a daily basis. And I guess AI gives us very, very big new opportunity on that side. So what we're basically building there is exactly that daily learning companion within our app. It means there is a buddy, a companion that every student can really personalize from 5th grade onwards, and that obviously further learns and accompanies the student along his journey inside the app. And we obviously have a huge advantage or opportunity here because we have tons of, on the one hand, content which you can index and which you can utilize, but on the other hand, even more importantly, we have usage data for more than 10 million students in that sense. Meaning, okay, we pretty clearly know, hey, okay, this is content that might be relevant for the student. This is something that the student already knows and can really kind of guide the student's outcome driven within the app. And I think especially for students in lower grades, which otherwise, where it might be tough for them to normally search or to explore the platform, that guiding factor is a huge opportunity for us that could then in the future really potentially even replace tutoring. Because if you think about tutoring as a traditional standard service, that isn't a great product in that sense. the cool side about what we can basically offer there is that it's like a companionship for students, where students are somewhat self-motivated to learn and where they personalize and customize their buddy, their companion, that further accompanies them. And this is a big opportunity for us, which we're working on that side. Plus also working on lots of other things there in terms of enabling exactly these nerds and creators to create their own buddies and to basically distribute them amongst the platform. I guess that's on the product side, and I think internally for us, the huge thing is where we're leveraging a lot is like for smaller use cases in terms of lots on the data side, that we enable everyone in the company to write own SQLs in that sense, a lot on the copy side in that sense, that we have our own copy translation tool that we kind of build together, which obviously allows us to just optimize and iterate way faster than we needed to do before, and which has definitely also brought lots of efficiency increases inside the company. Yeah.
So it's about upgrading the product at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's really about building that companion on another level in that sense. Before that, we had it on the platform. Students still needed to search or to discover content and discover help by themselves. And now it's really about us also having the ability to kind of really guide them through and to really be their daily learning companion. And that, I think, for us is a huge opportunity. And the cool thing is it's not just an opportunity, we already see huge traction on it. We already see half of the users using it actively, the users using it, retaining and converting way better. So it is a huge driver, and that is quite exciting for us in the next couple of years also.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, if you have the data points supporting that already, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Talking about growth, you went to the US, you just shared it with us. What are your biggest learnings in terms of, is there a different user, I would say, a different way user use your product, interact with you, have different expectations?
Definitely. I think we did all of that Europe expansion in 2022, and that worked extremely well. And we saw that Europe as a country and the markets within it somewhat work similar, that students use the app similar, behaviors is similar and everything. On the other hand, if we now look into the US, we're already at 500,000 users there. That works pretty good, but the type of usage is totally different, meaning US users are very much focused on their homeworks in the first place, on quizzes, but not so much on the actual content behind it, which is quite strange because it might create a typical stereotypes to a certain extent. But we actually really see that on the platform, that US students first want to know something about their homework, want to check their homework, and then afterwards really get into that deep content, learning, understanding behavior. That's one part. And the other big part is just that US students are way more socially driven in the first place. So they come to the platform to chat in communities and group chats and everything, and then content is basically second to a certain extent for them, whether in Europe that's the other way around. But yeah, definitely interesting challenge in the US.
That means your core positioning is even working better there.
Yes, it is in that sense. I mean, acquisition is in general, I guess everyone that ran consumer business in the US knows that acquisition in the US also is a bit more expensive in the first place, but that's improving very good. So we're quite happy with that launch there. Yep.
Okay. So you're 21 now.
Yep.
You founded the company with 19. That's a learning curve as well, huh?
Yeah, there has been quite some learnings. No, I mean, we're 4 founders in that sense. 3 of us never worked before. So that was quite interesting, especially in the early days when we did our first hires, which we obviously fucked up quite a lot in that sense, just because we didn't know how to do it properly. But then we kind of really just did a lot of learning by doing, got on board very cool early angels and everything that really supported us along the ride. And then I guess it has been a quite cool learning curve for us so far. But I mean, still learning every day. So.
And what is your biggest personal learning? What is the most complex, complicated?
I guess it's not complicated or complex, but I think, I mean, everyone knows that. You hear it tons of times, but how important the first few hires are. I guess we just realized that after we did it wrong in the first place and then kind of replaced the first 2 to 3 people again, just because we didn't really understand that it's not just important that we get in someone for capacity who can, I don't know, do a design or build a piece of code or something. And I guess that was the biggest learning for us, that we are now constantly trying to integrate in our hiring process and our recruiting process and everything, because we definitely failed at that in the first place.
Okay. So next step is now raising Series B. Anything to share? What is the outlook going forward?
Exactly, one of the next steps. I mean, ultimately, we really want to build up a leading global platform for students. B is planned next year, mid next year, really with obviously a focus on the US growth, focus on monetization growth, which has been going really good the last few weeks, and obviously further integrating these AI use cases and really building a strong moat there to then double down on the US and double down on other geos after the Series B.
Cool. Thank you, Benedict.
Thank you.